There's something about funerals that presses down on you. A heaviness that makes even the strongest feel small. I pulled into the chapel parking lot, raindrops still running down my windshield after a 4-hour drive, and the world outside seemed unusually still. Only 3 days had passed since Mom's heart failed without warning. 3 days and it still didn't feel real. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, forcing myself to inhale and step inside. The chapel was already filled with people. Dark coats moved quietly among the floral arrangements, tissues clutched in trembling hands. The scent of white lilies hit me immediately, Mom's favorite. At the entrance, Julia, my sister, smiled at arriving guests with practiced sorrow. But the instant our eyes met, her warmth evaporated, replaced with sharp frost. She didn't lower her voice. "Back row," she declared so everyone nearby could hear. "Adopted children aren't part of the real family. Front rows are reserved for blood relatives." A flush of heat spread across my face. I was 30, yet she could still make me feel like the small girl Mom had rescued from foster care at 7. Heads turned in my direction, some with pity, some confused, others pretending not to hear. "I just want the back row," I whispered. "No arguments," she snapped, spinning toward Aunt Carol and shutting me out completely. I walked down the aisle, aware of the silent scrutiny, whispers trailing behind me. My cousin in the 3rd row averted his gaze, and Marcus, my brother, remained stiff in the front, refusing even to glance my way. I slipped into the last row, pressing myself against the wall, hands trembling as I held the funeral program. Mom's smiling photograph on the cover stared back at me, reminding me that to her, I had always been her daughter. The word adopted was Julia's alone. The room quieted as Mr. Patterson, the funeral director, approached the podium. He cleared his throat, his voice calm and gentle. "We are here today to honor the life of Margaret and Sullivan, a beloved mother, sister, aunt and friend." Before he could continue, Julia rose abruptly. "Excuse me," she said, facing the congregation. "I need to clarify something. Mom had 3 children. Marcus, myself, and our brother who passed away young. Anyone else here claiming family ties are simply former foster children she took in out of charity. Nothing more." The chapel sank into stunned silence. Every breath felt heavy. Mr. Patterson's expression remained professional, but his jaw tightened. "There's perhaps a way to discuss," he started carefully. "No discussion necessary," Julia interrupted. "I just want the record clear." She sat back down, serene, as if she had done nothing wrong. Marcus stayed frozen, staring at his hands. Aunt Carol dabbed at her eyes, shaking her head. The service resumed, but the words became background noise. Julia's comments about Mom's devotion to her real children and Marcus's clipped, indifferent sentences barely registered. When the time came for the viewing, I waited until every relative had said their farewells. Only then did I rise, but Julia stepped in my path. "Family only," she hissed. I froze. "I just want to say goodbye," I said quietly. "You're not family," she snapped. "Mom took you in out of pity. That doesn't make you one of us." I looked at the woman I had called my sister for over 20 years. "Mom loved me," I murmured. "She felt obligated," Julia countered sharply. "There's a difference." She turned away again. I walked back to the last row, sitting down silently, eyes blurred with tears, and listened to the final prayers. When the service ended, Julia positioned herself near the altar. "The reception will be at my house," she announced loudly. "Family only." Funerals always carry a weight, an invisible pressure that makes even the strongest shrink. I pulled into the chapel's parking lot, rain streaking my windshield after a 4-hour drive. The world felt unusually still. Only 3 days had passed since Mom's heart gave out without warning. 3 days and it still hadn't sunk in. I gripped the steering wheel a little tighter, forcing myself to inhale deeply and step inside. The chapel was already full. People in dark coats murmured softly to one another, tissues in their hands. The scent of flowers hit me immediately. White lilies, Mom's favorite. At the entrance, Julia, my sister, greeted guests with a sad, rehearsed smile. The moment our eyes met, her expression froze. The warmth vanished, replaced by something sharp and cold. She didn't lower her voice. "Back row for you," she announced loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "Adopted children aren't real family. Front rows are reserved for blood relatives only. Heat surged through me. I was 30, yet she could still make me feel like the little girl Mom had rescued from foster care at 7. Heads turned. Some looked sympathetic, some confused, others pretending not to notice. "I just want the back row," I whispered. "I'm not debating this," she said sharply, spinning toward Aunt Carol as if I weren't even there. I walked down the aisle under what felt like 1,000 stares, whispers drifting behind me. My cousin in the third row avoided my gaze. Marcus, my brother, remained stiff in the front, not looking at me at all. I slid into the last row and pressed against the wall, holding the funeral program in trembling hands. Mom's smiling face on the cover stared back at me, reminding me she had always seen me as her daughter. The word adopted belonged to Julia, not to her. The room quieted as Mr. Patterson, the funeral director, stepped to the podium. His voice was calm and measured. "We are gathered today to honor the life of Margaret and Sullivan, beloved mother, sister, aunt, and friend." Before he could continue, Julia rose abruptly. "Excuse me," she said, turning to the room. "I need to clarify something. Mom had 3 children. Marcus, myself, and our brother who passed away in childhood. Anyone else here claiming family are merely former foster children she took in out of kindness. Nothing more." A stunned silence fell over the chapel. The air felt suffocating. Mr. Patterson kept his professional composure, but the tension in his jaw was clear. "Perhaps we could discuss this," he began carefully. "No discussion necessary," Julia interrupted. "I just want the record clear." She sat down as if nothing had happened. Marcus stared at his hands, frozen. Aunt Carol dabbed her eyes and shook her head. The ceremony continued, but the words became a blur. Julia spoke of Mom's devotion to her real children. Marcus offered short, clipped sentences, ignoring me entirely. When it was time for the family to view the casket, I waited. I stayed seated until everyone else had passed by, saying their goodbyes. Only then did I rise. Julia stepped in front of me. "Family only," she whispered, icy and sharp. I froze. "I just want to say goodbye," I said softly. "You're not family," she snapped. "Mom took you in out of pity. That doesn't make you one of us." I stared at the woman I had called my sister for over 20 years. "Mom loved me," I whispered. "She felt obligated," Julia shot back. "There's a difference." She turned away. I walked quietly back to the last row, sat down, and listened to the final prayers with blurred vision. When the service ended, Julia positioned herself near the altar. "The reception will be at my house," she announced. "Family only. Others may pay respects and leave." She looked directly at me. "Own number," I answered. I slipped out of the chapel and sat in my car, letting silent, shaking sobs take over for 20 minutes before finally driving to my hotel. That evening my phone rang. "Unc. Miss Sullivan, this is Mr. Patterson," said the gentle voice. "I apologize for calling so late. There are documents regarding your mother's estate that require your immediate attention. Could you come to my office tomorrow at 9? Confused, I agreed. Of course, I assumed the estate would go to Julia and Marcus. I had always been the outsider, the foster girl, the one Julia never let me forget I once was. The next morning, I arrived at Patterson Funeral Home and Estates, exhausted and nervous. Mr. Patterson led me down a hallway to a small conference room. A woman in a navy suit sat waiting, calm and professional. "This is Catherine Price," he said. "She handled your mother's estate planning." Catherine reached across the table to shake my hand. "I'm very sorry for your loss, Amanda," she said softly. "Your mother spoke of you often." I thanked her, my throat tight. She opened a thick folder. "I asked you here because there are important matters regarding your mother's estate that require attention immediately," she said, sliding a document toward me. I blinked. "Executor? That must be a mistake. Julia would be." Catherine shook her head gently. "Your mother appointed you executor 18 months ago, when she updated her will. This is the official, notarized document." My hand shook as I picked it up. My full legal name stared back at me. Executor Amanda Claire Sullivan. I hadn't seen it written out like that in years. Catherine's face softened as she spoke. "Your mother told me she wanted to avoid family disputes while she was alive. She knew this decision would upset your siblings." They'll be furious, I whispered. That's not your concern, Catherine said firmly. Your job is to carry out your mother's wishes exactly as she documented them. She opened the folder again. Now let's go through the estate. She flipped through several pages. The primary residence at 847 Maple Street is valued at approximately $1,650,000. I swallowed hard. She also had investment accounts totaling just over $900,000, a life insurance policy worth $300,000, and several business properties. Business properties? I repeated, stunned. Yes, Catherine confirmed. Your mother owned the building housing her bookstore, as well as 2 other commercial buildings downtown. Together, they're valued at around $2.3 million. My mind was spinning. I had no idea Mom had quietly built such wealth. She also held rental properties that generated steady monthly income, Catherine continued. I stared at the table, stunned. Mom, gentle and humble, had amassed a fortune quietly and carefully. She met my eyes. Amanda, your mother's total estate is roughly $4.2 million. I went blank. Catherine slid a document toward me. This is the will. Would you like a summary of the main points? I nodded, too shocked to speak. Your mother left the family home to you. The investment accounts are divided as follows. 60% to you, 20% to Julia, and 20% to Marcus. All commercial buildings go entirely to you. I couldn't breathe. Julia and Marcus would receive some financial shares, but the rest. She was very clear about her reasons, Catherine said. She pulled out a letter marked with a yellow sticky note and read aloud. Amanda has shown true loyalty and love. Julia and Marcus have shown me what matters to them, and it isn't family. I leave the bulk of my estate to the daughter who chose to be my family, not the children who were born into it. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Catherine handed me a tissue silently. There's one more thing, she said gently. Your mother established a trust for any future children you may have, ensuring her grandchildren will always be provided for. She placed another document in front of me. That trust is valued at $500,000. She had thought so far ahead. Only I had truly understood what family meant to her. Catherine collected the papers. You'll need to formally inform Julia and Marcus about the contents of the will. As executor, that is your legal responsibility. I can attend the meeting if you like. Yes, please. We scheduled the meeting for the next day at Catherine's office. I called Julia and Marcus, explaining that the attorney needed to meet with all of us about Mom's estate. Julia's tone was dismissive, Marcus neutral. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Julia arrived in an expensive designer outfit. Marcus wore a suit. Both looked surprised to see me already seated with Catherine and Mr. Patterson. Why is she here? Julia demanded. This concerns the actual family, Catherine replied firmly. Amanda is the executor of your mother's will. Please take a seat, Mrs. Brennan, Mr. Sullivan. Julia scoffed. That's absurd. I'm the daughter by birth. Regardless, your mother appointed Amanda, Catherine said, holding up her folder. I will read the will's key points. As Catherine read, Julia's face shifted from arrogance to confusion, then to pale shock. Marcus furrowed his brow. This can't be correct, Julia interrupted. The house alone is worth over $500,000, and she's leaving it to her? Yes, Catherine said. The house, the commercial buildings, and most of the estate are for Amanda. You and Marcus each received $200,000 from the investment accounts. Julia's voice shook. This is fraud. Mom would never do this. I assure you the will is legally valid, Catherine replied calmly. I witnessed it along with 2 other attorneys. Your mother was of sound mind and made her intentions very clear. You manipulated her, Julia spat. You convinced her to cut us out. I didn't even know about this, I said softly. Lies, Catherine said firmly. Your mother updated this will 18 months ago, including a letter explaining her reasoning. Would you like me to read it? Yes, Marcus said quietly. Catherine produced a handwritten letter in Mom's distinctive script. She read aloud. I am leaving the majority of my estate to Amanda, because she proved what family truly means. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, Amanda took time off work to drive me to treatments, sat through chemotherapy, and called me daily. Julia and Marcus were too busy to provide support. Only Amanda showed up. Only Amanda cared more about my life than my money. Julia's face drained of color. She never told us, Marcus whispered. Catherine looked at him. She told you at the time, but you both failed to respond. Only Amanda was there for her. Catherine continued. I am leaving Amanda the house because she treated it as a home, not a commodity. She will inherit my businesses because she understands that work should serve life, not the other way around. Julia and Marcus, I love you, but I no longer trust you with my legacy. Amanda earned this. Julia grabbed her purse. I'm contesting this. No judge will allow an adopted child to steal a family inheritance. Your mother anticipated this, Catherine said calmly. There's a no contest clause. Challenge the will and lose, and your inheritance goes to charity. She documented every call, text, and request for help, showing who cared for her and who didn't. Marcus spoke softly. I didn't know she was that sick. She was treatable, but she needed support. Amanda provided it, Catherine said. Catherine closed her folder. The estate is substantial. Amanda will inherit around $3.2 million in assets. You will each receive $120,000. Your mother felt that was fair based on your involvement in her life. Julia's voice trembled. This is because of the funeral, isn't it? Your mother passed before the funeral, Catherine said. She anticipated how you would treat Amanda. In her letter she declared, Amanda is my family, the truest family of all my children. Julia stormed out without another word. Marcus lingered. I should have visited more, he admitted quietly. Yes, I said. You should have. He left. Catherine turned to me. One last thing. Your mother left you a personal letter to be given after the will reading. She handed me a sealed envelope. Inside, in Mom's handwriting. My dearest Amanda, if you're reading this, I'm gone. You were my choice every day, not because of birth, but because of love. You held my hand when I was scared, made me laugh, and reminded me why life was worth fighting for. Julia and Marcus are children by birth, but you are my daughter by choice. Blood matters less than love. This inheritance is not just money. It's my way of telling you that you were always my real family. I love you forever, Mom. I sat in Catherine's office and cried for 20 minutes. Mr. Patterson brought water. Catherine waited quietly as I processed everything. What do I do now? I asked. You sign the executor documents, begin probate, and take possession of your inheritance. You live your life knowing your mother loved you fully, Catherine said gently. 3 months later, probate was complete. I moved into Mom's house, continued running her bookstore, and managed the commercial properties, which provided steady income. Julia never spoke to me again. Marcus sent a brief apology. I didn't respond. I established a foundation in Mom's name to support families dealing with cancer treatment. On the first anniversary of her passing, I sat in her garden. The house was mine. The businesses were mine. But most of all, the love was mine. Julia had been wrong. I was real. Mom had made sure everyone knew.